Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, or good day, rather. It's Abbie once again. You're welcome to today's office hour. I see we have few people on. Hi, everyone. Sorry about that. I see we have few people on YouTube today. Is it because it's Saturday, understandable. So I guess would most likely make this call short. There's just one question that was sent in using the form, and although I believe this question has been answered multiple times, but I'm still going to take it. So the question is, I understand in web development, front end to be precise, HTML is used for creating the structure of a website. Now in mobile development, how will the mobile interface be written? Will HTML and CSS be also used within to design the interface, or there's a way that will be used to create app interfaces? Hoping that everyone got the question. Okay, so there are two things that we would use in building our mobile applications. First is Flutter. Flutter is a framework which we will be using to build the user interface of our mobile applications. Flutter is not a programming language. It is a framework. It has inbuilt classes that are available for you to use to build the interface. In short, the UI of your mobile applications. UI is the short form of user interface. User interface is rather a longer way to call it, so it's just mostly referred to as a UI. So that's what we use Flutter for, to build the UI of our mobile applications. Then Dart, the programming language that helps make our Flutter applications fully functional. Say, for example, you've built your interface where when you expect that when you click a button, it's supposed to increment a number by 1, right? So to get a variable that is a number and to also perform the increment, in such a case, you would need that. So that is pretty much what handles the logical aspect of our mobile applications, helping it to be interactive. That's where the programming language comes in. Our Flutter just helps us to build the user interface of our mobile applications. So that's the clear difference between the two, but they work hand in hand. You can't just have a UI, you need to make your application interactive, hence where that comes in. I hope that clears the question, and yeah, I hope that answers the question and I didn't confuse you further. So yeah, that's the only question, that's only new question that I saw on that was sent in using the form. If you have further questions, I'm just going to give you a bit of time to ask them in the comment section. Really sorry about your network, Sofiat. So Figma and Flutter are working hand in hand. Well, so Figma is used by product designers to, design the proposed interface for an application, be it the web, be it mobile. As a front-end developer, which is pretty much what mobile developers are, we get the properties for different widgets from Figma and try to represent that in our mobile application. So the goal of Figma is, the relationship between Figma and Flutter is pretty much to reproduce what you have on Figma in your mobile applications. The Figma has the designs that we intend to bring to life. And then with Flutter, we get to, bring those designs to life. So Flutter helps us to reproduce the designs, but I wouldn't say exactly that they work hand in hand, because there are also some other platforms that product designers use to design products. There are other platforms, so I wouldn't exactly say that they work hand in hand, but in the case where Figma is used for certain product developments, then of course you get the designs of Figma and then you reproduce it using Flutter in a mobile application. I am a Flutter developer. You can only give off what you have. And I am a Flutter developer, and I can only guide someone else in this journey. Hence, plus also that is the selected framework for this program. So those are the two primary reasons why we're using Flutter. That is the primary programming language for if you're building your applications using the Flutter framework. So yes, we're going to use that all through. I'm not sure how to answer your question, Ifeanyi, as to how that is different from JavaScript, but there are two different programming languages, and yeah, although they do have similarities, but there are two different programming languages. I'm really not sure how to answer your question. Maybe rephrase it so that I could give you a better answer. As to the kind of apps that you're going to build in this program, you get to see them as we go along. Like I said before, you would only need Figma if that is the software being used by the product designer and the projects that you're working on. If it's Zeppelin or if it's some other software, then you would obviously not use Figma. So if Figma is the software that the designer you're working with is going to use, then you definitely need it through your mobile development process. I heard that Figma had sold to Adobe. I really don't think, I don't know how I'm supposed to answer that, but I'm not sure that is actually valid for our office hour today. Figma is still very functional, even though it was bought by Adobe, but yeah, it's still being used. Still, it's not exactly valid for our office hour today. That's to talk about. So just to clarify once more, Figma is a platform, is a software on its own that is used by designers to design products. For mobile development, we're using Flutter and Dart. Flutter is what we use to build the user interface of our mobile applications, while Dart is the programming language that powers our Flutter apps. Figma is different. It is where we get, I don't know, if I have a sample Figma design that I can share. No, okay, they're all covered by an NDA. That's a non-disclosure agreement, so I can't share. But it's they're separate things. Figma is for design, Flutter and Dart are for mobile development. So yeah. So of course, we are going to most likely cover an ideal architecture for your mobile applications. We're going to get to that eventually. It's a topic that, yeah, we'll most likely cover before the end of the program. But of course, in the beginning, I mean, before we start talking about architecture, we're definitely going to cover the basics at least as to Dart and Flutter and whatnot before we get into talking about architecture. For state management, even if it's not covered, even if we do not get the time to cover state management during this program, I'll make sure that I get together resources that can get you started with it, that you can use to practice after the program, or if we have time, we could also cover that during. Because there's actually a lot to learn, a lot of the basics to cover, and it isn't advisable to just rush through and get to that stage through the learning journey. So if there is time, then for sure, we're going to I'm going to share resources on state management and maybe have an office hour or two where we get to talk about it. No, please, this is not a product design class, but we had a lot of questions on Figma and if it's the same, if it works hand in hand with Flutter. Reason I had to talk about it, but no, this is not a product design class. This is an office hour for the mobile track. Mobile development isn't so mobile developers are actually categorized under front end developers because we deal with the front end and not the back end. So asking what back end tool we're using for developing scalable apps is not exactly valid for mobile development because we're not going to be building the back end of our applications, except in the case where we use a BaaS, which is a backend as a service like Firebase or Amplify or something. But for the most part, you would not be building your own backend for your mobile applications, except in such exceptions. Hi, Stephen. If it really matters, if we learn, sorry, let me read that again. Does it really matter which we learn first between Dart and Flutter? Well, maybe it's my own personal preference, but I would always suggest that everyone gets, if you're going to go into mobile development using Flutter, I would definitely advise 100% that you get a good understanding of Dart first before you dive into Flutter. One reason is, well, starting out with Flutter, you just might get engrossed with building your UI that you may not get the basics of Dart. You get to maybe miss out on certain things that you should have knowledge of before actually moving further, right? You can just get so overwhelmed with what Flutter is about that you get to miss the basics of Dart. So Flutter is Flutter development is so broad. It would carry places that you don't know. So before we go any further, it's always best that you at least understand the basics of that. It's going to help you in the long run, I promise. Hi, Clement. It would be best if you actually ask the question so that it can be clarified as to what you don't understand so far in the training. Of course, for Latife, I am open to you reaching out to me after the program at any point. I'm here to offer my assistance. Hi, Stella. This isn't the first class per se. We're still in our basic Q&A stages before the main resources and tasks are being published. So let's just say we're still trying to get familiar with certain things before we officially get started. Why is Flutter preferred to React Native nowadays? I wouldn't exactly say it is being preferred. Everything is just based on, it's based on a person's preference or the company's preference or the client's preference or even the developer's preference. So there's still a large community for React Native developers, and there's also a large community for Flutter developers. So everything just depends on which framework is being used for a particular project. I wouldn't exactly say Flutter is above the bar than React Native. It's just based on, certain factors. Company, clients, the developer. Yes, definitely. We're going to cover that. That's what I previously said, that we're going to cover the basics of that before actually starting out with Flutter proper. So yes, we're going to cover that. React Native is also a cross-platform framework. Even Flutter also is a cross-platform framework, but so is React Native. Yeah, the resources shared just focused on Flutter because that's what we're dealing with, but React Native is also a cross-platform framework. So one can understand why why if I try to compare, but no, we're not comparing. Everything is based on preference, like I stated earlier. You can't see the tutor. Okay, going forward, I would put in my best to turn on my video for a short while during our office hour, but this week, just bear with me. The resources were shared on the LMS. Please check under posts, not tasks, posts. You would see the week 1 resources shared for the mobile track. Yes, Boluatife, that's true. Flutter can also be used to develop desktop applications, web applications, mobile applications. It's an all-rounder now. Okay, Lucky, noted. You said you can't see anything and nobody is helping. Could you please be specific? I'm not sure. What can't you see and what help do you need? You said you don't have access to Slack, today is the deadline for that task, and I'm kind of surprised that you're saying this. Please check your LMS, and that's the Zuri board, and you would see the task to join Slack. The link is there. Please do it as soon as possible before the task is closed. Hi, Paul. For now, there really isn't any software to install, as we'll be using Dartpad, which is an online code editor. That's what we'll be using for the first few stages of the program. So not yet for installation. But if you want to be ahead of the class, then sure. There are quite a number of things that you could install. You could install the Flutter SDK. You could install your IDE, either Android Studio or Visual Studio Code. You could install Java, as that would be needed as well. So there are quite a number of things to install. The resources will be shared in time, but based on the list, you could go ahead to do that yourself if you want to just be ahead, which there isn't any rush, as there'll be more than enough resources to guide you when the time comes. The assignment we'll be doing, will it be standard, or one can choose which app to develop, provided it has applied the needed requirements? We are all going to get there. Just relax for the flow. There's no need to try to jump the gun. When we get to that point, you would all see what we have in store. Just relax, please. You've seen the resources, great. Yeah, so Flutter is jack of all trades. And interestingly, all these platforms are now stable. So we can strongly rely on Flutter, including stable, scalable applications on either of these platforms. Olariwaju, I have talked about this way too many times. I even did a refresher right at the beginning of this office hour, so it would help if you actually rewatched it, because this would just be like me saying the same thing over and over again. Flutter is a framework, that is a programming language, they work hand in hand. I already explained that at the beginning of the office hour. Please try to watch it again. How do we join the Dart mobile channel? It's on Slack. Just browse through channel, click on browse channels, and you'd see the list of available channels that you can join. Then you just click on mobile and join the channel. All right, so I want to confirm this again. Should I have HTML and CSS knowledge before diving into Dart and Flutter? Is it really compulsory to have the knowledge before diving into Dart and Flutter? No, you do not need HTML and CSS with Flutter. Flutter is a framework that has all the available tools you need to build your user interface. Okay, so no, you don't need HTML and CSS. Is the live video class recorded? It's not recorded per se, but you can access this office hour at any time when you follow the link in your calendar. SDK means software development kit. Thank you, Bulwatfe. That's exactly what it means. Flutter, if you had said React Native, then I would most likely have said yes, as React Native is also a framework used to develop cross-platform applications. But for React.js, I wouldn't say per se, but yeah, React Native would have been a better comparison, but they're totally different in syntax. Okay, I'm still waiting for questions, if any. I think my network lagged a bit and comments started flooding in, but yeah. You said something about installing Java. What do we need it for? To actually successfully run your Flutter applications, we do need the Java environment. So the code requires the Java development kit comes along when you install Java on your computer. So yes, it is relevant in running our Flutter applications, having the Java development kit, which comes when you install Java. So yeah, that's the only relationship. It's not like you necessarily need to learn Java. You don't need to learn Java to write your to build your mobile applications. It's just under the hood. To successfully run your Flutter app, you need to have a Java environment. So that's the whole essence of installing Java. I hope that makes sense. I didn't confuse you. I didn't want to give a timeline and then something pops up and you don't see the resources posted, but in the next days, you should have resources that will get you started in that, and also your first task, hopefully. I doubt that this is a joint class, and if you are part of the mobile track, then you should confirm that you have successfully added your calendar. Else, I don't know. To the best of my knowledge, it's free. You just need to set up an account or something, but it's free. There are resources to get you started to make it a lot easier for you. So just please be patient. What live class are you talking about? Okay, Flutter is it's actually pretty easy to catch on, as is everything else. You would need consistency and quite the work to to be able to understand what it is you're doing, which is not different from when you're learning a new framework or a new programming language. So it actually depends on the work you put in and your consistency. But to me, Flutter is actually pretty easy to catch on. It's actually pretty easy to catch on. It just depends on the individual and how willing you are to learn. What might be a 10 to me might be a 5 to you. So no, I'm not going to give you a figure, but it's actually pretty easy to catch on. For now, most things we do, for now, until we actually get started proper, it's just going to basically be a Q&A. There wouldn't actually be a situation where we come on and I'm telling you, well, that is this, that is that, to create a variable, you get to do this, to do that, you get to do this, like, you know, as though we're in an actual class. The way things are going to go is resources will be shared on the LMS. Tasks will also be given, and in any case that some things didn't make sense that you need me to directly guide you through, then we can have such sessions during our office hour. If there are no requests like that, then we'll just have Q&As like this. So you ask a question and I get to answer. If it's a question that requires visual aid, then I get to show you, but for the most part, it's going to be Q&A unless requested otherwise. Is like this. So you ask the question. Yes, please. It's the same code base for the web, for desktop, everything is same code base. You do not need to write a separate code for you do not need to write a separate code for your web or for your desktop. Everything is from the same code base. And yay, looks to me now that the mobile resources for the intro to Dart has been published. So please go ahead, go onto your LMS and check it out. Let me know if any questions pop up. Not right now, because you need time to actually grasp everything. So just go through the resources and then let me know if you have questions in our next office hour. excited. No attendance, do you mean that you would not be attending, or do you mean, I'm not sure what you mean, Olaliko? Okay, since the new resources have been posted, I'm just going to give you a time now to go through all of them. We'll see tomorrow. I think our next office hour is tomorrow, so we'll see then. Yes, tomorrow at 5. So we'll see then, hoping that you, if you have questions or anything, I'll be available to answer them then. But for now, do enjoy the resources shared, and I'm available on Slack if you do have any questions. Thank you all so much for joining. See you all tomorrow. Bye.